Hi again then guys, and welcome to what is, for now at least, going to be the final episode of Visions of Tomorrow, for the very simple reason that this is the last of the 21 Vision GTs that we currently have available to use. So of course, we're going to have to put the series on hold. And stay tuned this Sunday on the official Facebook page for a clue as to what the new series is going to be starting next week to replace this one's slot in the week. But for now, I'm going to have to give out some news, which some of you will doubtless already know, but some of you probably don't. And you're really probably not going to like what I'm going to have to say, because I don't like what I'm going to have to say either. And that is, this series will not be returning until Gran Turismo Sport, because Kaz has confirmed that although we're not even halfway through the Vision GT program, which is good, the downside is there are going to be no more Vision GT cars on Gran Turismo 6. That's been confirmed by him. Now that's really unfortunate, and I don't agree with that kind of marketing, because I believe the reason why they've done that is to make more people want to buy GT Sport. Polyphony will also say it's for reasons such as the PS3 not really being strong enough to run those kind of physics, or Gran Turismo 6 not really being worth the time to put those extra cars into when GT Sport's coming out anyway. That's all tosh. If you make a game, you should make stuff to support that game. You shouldn't make the game and then say, well, what's the point, we're making another one. In my opinion, that's always been Gran Turismo's problem. They're too busy making the next game instead of focusing on the one they've already got. And eventually I think that's going to be the downfall of them if they're not careful. But, regardless of my opinion, the fact is we're not getting any more VGTs on GT6. We have, however, saved the best till last. Very deliberately so. And of course best is relative, it's highly subjective. But one thing that isn't subjective is that this is by far the fastest of the Vision GTs. And that's really what I mean by best in this case. Not only is it the fastest VGT we've ever had, but it's actually the fastest car ever in any Gran Turismo game, notwithstanding, of course, cheat codes, hacks, mods, etc. This car can do 440 miles per hour or even more under its own power. Nothing else even comes close to that. The next closest thing is the GTSR version, and that's around 60 or 80 miles per hour slower. So it's not even close. You compare it to what was the fastest car, the Red Bull, it's around 100 miles per hour quicker. That's not exactly a slight margin. Now, interestingly, for acceleration, the Red Bull is actually quicker off the line. Obviously, it doesn't beat it overall due to sheer top speed, but it's interesting to know that the Red Bull can actually beat this car in certain circumstances. Not only is the low-end acceleration better, but the Red Bull is also a superior track car. That part isn't as surprising, given that it is much more of a pure focus track machine, in effect a hybrid between Formula 1 and Le Mans, whereas the Tomahawk almost feels like it's in its own category, kind of a supercar in the way it looks, but with the performance of, well, nothing else. A land speed record vehicle in effect, combined with the best Le Mans handling ever. Now that's an interesting concept of things to put together, but it's not without plot holes, because to some degree there are certain cars on Gran Turismo which you have to suspend your disbelief for in order to enjoy, such as the Red Bull, which is certainly fast, but due to the fact that I believe, if I remember correctly, it has more G-force through acceleration and cornering than a fighter jet, would mean that it's pretty much impossible for a human being to drive that car. So even driving it on the game is completely unrealistic. So you suspend your disbelief and enjoy the car. With the Tomahawk, it's even more so. 440 miles per hour through a corner is not physically possible, regardless of what kind of tyres you're using. So you always have to just go with it sometimes and accept the ridiculousness for the sake of a bit of fun. And I don't have a problem with that. At the end of the day, it is a game, and games are designed to be fun, not just realistic. And if a game is too realistic, I don't enjoy it as much. That being said, The thing that actually kind of annoys me about this car more than its ridiculous top speed is actually the way it gets that ridiculous top speed. And it's something that people don't really complain about much, but it's something that does annoy me, and that's the engine. Now, if you want to make a car do 440 miles per hour, that is possible. It will only be able to do that in a straight line, and it will have the handling of a planet, but it can be done. Land speed record vehicles prove that. However, if you then try to turn around and tell me that a 7-litre engine with no turbos or superchargers can put out 2,600 horsepower, you can forget it. Because as far as race engine engineering goes, that's quite simply not physically possible. The best drag cars in the world to put out that kind of power are forced to use turbo aspiration, sometimes supercharging as well, nitrous, and sometimes even alternative fuels such as Jet A fuel. This car claims to do that from a 7-litre naturally aspirated unit, a unit which is essentially presented in-game as though it could almost be a street spec engine. That's just not physically possible. The engine would literally eat itself. The components would be shredded instantly without even pressing the throttle. So that, personally, is the thing I find the most insulting about this car, because to those who know nothing about engines and the kind of tolerances that they have, it probably seems cool to have an engine putting out that kind of power. But to any of us who actually know the kind of stresses and forces involved in making an engine do that, it's just an insult to your intelligence. Now, funnily enough, although this car does have a ridiculous amount of power, the torque is actually not that high. It puts out 943 foot-pounds. Now, to put that into perspective, that's roughly the kind of torque that you'd expect from the Dodge Charger when fully tuned, so not that impressive. But of course, this car only weighs 749 kilos, which is 1 kilo less than Peugeot's Le Mans winning 905. So the performance is, as everyone knows by now, absolutely insane. And for 1 million credits, of course I would recommend buying one because it's a great car. It's just worth having, purely as a track weapon. But if you want realism, well, don't expect that. But that's it overall, for now, for this series, and I'll see you guys next time. But for now, thanks for watching.